Lucy read wonderfully Psalm 23 for us earlier. I really enjoyed it, and it's one of my favourite psalms. We have it a lot. I read it this week at a funeral. It's old, right? It was 500 to 1,000 years old when Jesus knew it. It would have been in his mind when he wept at his friend's death that we're told about. It would have been in his mind, you would think, when he talked about being the good shepherd. It's a wonderful set of images. I didn't know this rod and staff business. A shepherd would have two things. We know what a staff is. Bishops still have them. Long, thin stick, hook on the end, keep the sheep out of trouble. You feel like, okay, I'm being looked after. Someone's pointing me the right way. A rod, short stick, big heavy metal end, smacking people that are getting in the way, sort of looking after you. If your shepherd is with you and he's got a thing to keep you on the right path and keep the naughty people away, that's that rod and staff business. It's quite reassuring to know that that's who's going with us. I've tried to paraphrase it for today. I think Psalms are absolutely wonderful. I've tried to rewrite it. Bear with me. It's not as good. People are not going to be reading my version in 3,000 years. But there's something creative that we can do by trying to express Psalms or express ourselves in Psalms. So this is my version of that. God is my air traffic controller in bad weather and my lighthouse in stormy seas. He gets me to a safe harbour, to refueling, to safe ground. He sets the right flight path for me, my navigator. Lord, even when I'm in rough seas and dark skies, when it seems hopeless, you are with me, you fight for me, you look after me, and you know what I need better than I do. So I will try to listen, to not be afraid, and to notice your presence. When everything is getting beyond me, when there's too much, when it all feels set against me, like a fight, overwhelm, in that place, you remind me to stop, to eat. You bless me and give me what I need, even though the skies are still dark. There is, surprisingly, enough. I know you love me, you always will, and that love and comfort will never leave me, even when I don't deserve it, even when I don't feel it. There will always be a place for me in your presence, Lord, and I choose that. There are so many Psalms. Do you know how many Psalms there are? Anyone? Quiz question? Get you a point one of these days. How many Psalms are there, Heather? 150. Some of our Catholic brethren have a different number, and that's okay. But yeah, we think there's 150 Psalms in the Bible, and they're of every sort. Some of them are about this big, and some of them are several pages, and you're reading them for 20 minutes. And there are lots of types of Psalms. There are Psalms that are more like the last song that we... God, you're brilliant. God, you're brilliant. You're brilliant, God. Just really praisey and repetitive and simple. And there are ones saying thank you to God and we love you. Lots of them are like, life is really awful, God. I wish it wasn't. Why won't you help me? Some of those finish with, nonetheless, I think you're brilliant. Some of them don't. They are just, life is rubbish. Why won't you help me? I don't like you anymore. And that's it. That's the end. Some of the books of the Bible talk about us just being cross with God and getting it all out of our system. And that is, I love that. There are Psalms for when you feel like that. I find that quite comforting. There are Psalms that make sense when you say them by yourself. I think this, I think that. There are Psalms that make sense when we say them all together as God's people. Angry ones, cross ones, frustrated ones. There's lots of, Lord, won't you beat up the people who are after me? Quite like, there are things that you would find it uncomfortable to preach. Will you smash the teeth of my enemies, make them fall over, and other people jump up and down on where they used to be? Like really quite mean, vicious, horrible things in the Psalms. I think what they tell us is that they've been cherished by God's people because God likes it when we are honest with him. That's it. They are this list of feelings about how we are with God or at God or to God or even without God and with the rest of God's people and wanting to write stuff down. If you read them, and I hope you do, you'll find one that fits your mood and that's helpful, or sometimes you find one that doesn't fit your mood and it reminds you that other people feel like that. So it's good for like empathy around God's people, around the world. I love that. And they're a reminder to me that you're not alone. Like, I've been really angry with God this week, and I'm not even sure that God exists, and if he did, I wish he would beat up the people who are out to get me. Well, that's okay to feel like that, it turns out. That's really comforting. They're a reminder that Christians, God's people, are not different. That we're supposed to have, it seems, lots of different emotions, and that's really good. I bang on a lot about joy, and joy is important. I love joy. It's not the same as happiness. Our feels are important. All the research tells us that feeling your feels is really important, and British people are really, really bad at it. It is very important, as I'm reminded by one of my friends here, to be sad when you are sad. It's a good thing, because otherwise you're squishing those things down. If we took the Psalms out of the Bible, it would fall apart in the middle. And if you take the sad feelings out of you, much the same stuff happens. I've had such joy, not happiness, but joy, crying with some of you at different times. There's a connection and an honesty and a reality to doing that. When you're not sad, being with other people who are, that's what we're called to. When you're not angry, being with other people. There's joy in the hard emotions. Does it even make sense that we can be joyful while we're not happy? We can be joyful in our crossness and frustration and despair. They remind us that it's important. So we're going to do some Psalms today. Okay? It's really, really important. I'm going to ask you to write one in your groups. That's what your little things are. I'm telling you, in 10 minutes you can do this. Calm down, it's all right. I'm not going to read it out, but you can be honest with God in 10 minutes. And if you want to draw a picture that helps you, you can. Fiona has made us some Play-Doh, even though she's not with us. It's like Barn Babies is in the room. If you want to make your psalm, if there's something that says something to you, we've got Play-Doh. Don't drop it on the floor. If you do, pick it up. And when you're done, give it back to us at the end. But I want you to make a psalm in your little groups of 2 or 3 or 4 around your clipboards. Does that make sense? I'm going to give you an example to show you that coming down. Me and Naomi got together this week, and in 8 minutes, we wrote a psalm. I just said, how are you feeling about God at the minute, Naomi? And she told me, and I wrote it down, and then we tidied it up, and there it is. And I think it's better than the one I did, but I doubt anyone's reading it in 3,000 years, but you never know. It's pretty good. Naomi will tell you about it in a second. It's good for you to do this. Granularity of emotional expressions. The more of your emotions you can feel, the better you're able to recognize them, process them, speak about them, get help. It's really good for you. The average person in the Western world can name 3 emotions in themselves, which is happy, sad, and cross, and we can do better. So I'm going to help you with that. It helps you to spiritually put things down. I think if you do this, you feel better afterwards. There's a catharsis to writing a thing, and they don't have to be about God even. God is with us in our feels, whatever our feels are. So that's your challenge, to spend the next 10 minutes writing or making or drawing a psalm. Here's how, as a reminder, I just said to Naomi, tell me how you're feeling about God. And she did, and we wrote it down, and we polished it up. I'm going to hand over to Naomi to tell us a bit about how that went, how she felt, and then she's going to read it, and then we'll give you your stuff. So listen to an 8-minute psalm. It doesn't take...
I think some of you might be inwardly groaning, going, oh, no. I think I probably outwardly groaned when Rob said, we're going to write this. Oh, really, I've got to be creative. I've got to be this. And I think so much of the time we say things that we think other people want to hear, that we don't actually go, if a friend asks us how we're feeling, oh yeah, fine. But actually, I think I'd be really upset if I asked a friend how they're feeling, they said they were fine, and actually it turns out that they had lots going on and they were in a really bad place and they hadn't felt able to share. Likewise with your children, you ask them, how are you doing? Yeah, I'm fine, Mum, fine. But actually you know that they're in a really bad place. And I think God's a bit like that. He wants to hear our honest conversation with us. So I think that was my starting place when Rob said to me, I was going, okay, I feel a bit rubbish. I feel not good enough. I feel on my knees really at the moment. But actually in doing that, I began to actually go, but actually we've just been to Canada and seen these amazing mountains and seen God's beautiful creation. So it almost sort of led to a sort of worship in a place, well, yeah, I feel like this, but I know that God is with me and alongside me. And I did at the end, having unwillingly gone into the process, felt, oh, actually that outpouring has made me feel at peace and with God. And God didn't come in and go, I'm going to change the circumstances. I'm going to do this, and this. But I knew that he was with me in it. And I think I had began in that process of outspilling of how I was feeling, began to sort of go, yeah, well, God's with me. and he can give me the strength to do that. So there was a sort of turning point, and just a feeling of, I was left with a feeling of peace, which I hadn't expected at all. So I hope that that's true for you today. It's not a complicated thing. It's an honest conversation. This is who I am, God, here today. So I'll just read what we came up with from that. Lord, I forget, and when I do, I don't feel that I have what I need. I feel like I'm on my knees, not good enough. But then your mountains overwhelm me. You are too much for me, so much. The detail in creation, the leaves, the clouds, the lakes. You care for it all, for me. You've got this covered, and you are here with me while I work this out. Feel this, see this. This blue sky, my blue eyes. You are enough. I am enough. Thank you, Lord.
So, yeah, that's the challenge. You don't have to feel this. You don't have to feel whatever it is I did, and that's fine. You probably can't fit 15 emotions into one psalm. If there's 3 of you together and you ask each other what you feel, you might need to pick one or write 2 different things. Not everything works at the same time. There's 150 psalms. They took their time to do them a feel at a time. But I recommend, if you would like to, with each other, ask each other, how is it that you feel about God? Somebody else tries to write that down and capture it. I think any age can have some feelings at the moment. That's fine. Over to you. Does that make sense? We're going to come back in about 10 minutes. We're going to play some music that is, in fact, psalms. And if anyone would like, we're going to ask you to share, and we'll hear some of them.